Just because the NFL playoffs are in full swing doesn't mean it's too early to improve our dynasty rosters. On today's episode of the Regression to the Mean podcast, we have part one of our early offseason buys and sells, and we'll be kicking things off today with the players that we are buying. I am your host, Shaun Moran, and I am joined by my co-host, my good friend, and my fellow ball knower, Aidan Haller. Aidan, how we doing, man?
I am doing fine, Sean. The 3-day weekend was quite lovely. Bills game getting delayed to line up, a little double dip here on Monday was pretty nice too. A handful of blowouts this weekend. I wouldn't say it was, the best wild card weekend of recent memory, but it's playoff football, man. It was awesome. Great Bills game. Looking forward to seeing if the Eagles can pull it out tonight. A bit shorthanded.
Josh Allen's a lot of fun to watch.
He is, he just goes full Josh Allen, and it's awesome. He's an absolute rock star. Looking forward to him and Patty Mahomes squaring off again. I'm hoping they get over the hump and take down Mahomes in the playoffs, but we'll see.
That would be a ton of fun. And then we have Ravens, Texans, Bills, Chiefs is a pretty fun four. I'm not gonna lie. That's a fun group of quarterbacks over there in the AFC.
Yep.
I am cautiously optimistic about the 49ers, who are 10-point favorites, which sounds a little crazy, but if you start doing some digging into the Packers defense, I just don't think they can stop the 49ers offense. But got to tip your cap for them embarrassing Dallas like that. Usually that's the Niners' job, but the fact that the Packers were able to get that done, you got to tip the cap. I know you don't. I think you want them to rot in hell, but regardless,
that was torture. That was torture.
Go down.
Absolutely flawless performance. I'm like, what am I watching? Like, before we started here, like me and Sean were like, it just felt like the Cowboys never showed up. Like, those were two teams that like wanted it on such different like levels. It was awful, but no, good for the Packers. We'll see if they can keep it rolling or if the Niners do their job, which I think everyone is kind of expecting them to do.
Have you ever heard the Mike Tyson quote, everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth?
Yeah. They got punched in the mouth, 7-0 on the first drive, and plan out the window, completely crumbled. Dak looked like crap. It was just a disaster all around for that team.
It was great if you don't like the Cowboys. And then Detroit, shout out Jared Goff. I loved the Dan Campbell speech. Jared Goff's good enough for Detroit. That was pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. It's pretty electric.
He's going to get paid this summer.
Yeah, he is.
They're going to pay him for sure. He is 100% getting an extension, and it's going to be pretty hefty.
We're recording this before the results of the Buccaneers-Eagles game, so I'm very curious to know if it's the Buccaneers, the Lions are going to the NFC Championship game, man. Like it's a pretty easy road for them.
I think they beat either team. But yeah, I'd say the Buccaneers is definitely the easier route.
Before we dive into early offseason buys, two things. One, if you're a part of the 70% of people who enjoy our channel but aren't yet subscribed, hit that subscribe button to make sure you don't miss out on any Regression to the Mean content in the future. Two, if you love player prop apps like Prize Picks or Underdogs, you're going to love today's sponsor of the Regression to the Mean podcast, Chalkboard Fantasy Sports. Chalkboard's picks game is similar to what you've probably played hundreds of times on Prize Picks or Underdogs, but what makes them unique is the fact that you can take alternate lines. We've been chalking our board for the past couple months. It's a great time. You're going to want to download the Chalkboard app with the link in the description of this video and use promo code RTM to double your deposit up to $100. Aidan, early offseason buys. We each have three, so 6 players in total that we are buying in the early stages of the offseason. We've gone through the stats. We combed through Keep Trade Cut. We've hit the pavement to find you the best players to trade for in January. Aidan, why don't you kick things off? Who's someone you're looking to trade for right now in the early parts of the fantasy football offseason?
Yeah, let's do it. So this is someone that I've definitely changed my tone on and kind of outlook. And it's Javonte Williams. So this is a guy that I kind of wanted nothing to do with in the 2023 season. And I'm kind of okay with not having any shares of him during the year. Was coming off that brutal knee injury. He's currently the running back 16 on Keep Trade Cut, which puts him right in between Josh Jacobs and Dave Montgomery. So you're probably looking at, late first rounder, maybe early second, depending on the year and how big your league is. Still just 24 years old. Had just over 1,000 all-purpose yards in his first year back from that knee injury. And you could see down the stretch too. Was definitely getting stronger, definitely getting more comfortable. Workload was increasing too. Career high 47 catches as well. So built on that really strong rookie year, caught a ton of passes. Really just not a lot of competition in that backfield. McLaughlin looked good. You've got Pirine, really just a change of pace third down back. I really like him going into next year. I know there's some uncertainty around the quarterback position in Denver, but I think this is still a super young running back, full off season of health with him. Could be a sneaky buy for you. So that's the first guy that I'm targeting at this juncture in the offseason.
I like Javonte. I think the case for him was he played all 17 games. He's still 24 years old. He's still really young. Still on his rookie contract.
Yep.
Sean Payton clearly thought really highly of him. He had a really great role, and he still was relatively productive after tearing 3 different ligaments in his knee the year before. So I think just getting out there and playing was a pretty big deal. And to do a whole entire season with a new head coach, earn the trust and respect of your head coach like Sean Payton, I'd say that's a pretty big deal. I'm curious to know what it looks like with a new quarterback. Is it Jared Stidham? I don't know what that's going to look like for them.
No way. It can't be.
Either way, what did you say he was in Keep Trade Cut? RB?
Running back 16.
That's pretty solid. I like Javonte. People aren't going to be that juiced about him.
I like him there.
He didn't have an amazing year, but I think that's a good pickup, Aiden. I like that. I think Javonte's somebody that you could really pick up, and I think the year after the year will be really big for Javonte Williams after the knee injury.
Yeah, him and Brees. Obviously, Brees, is like the sexier name. But both of them eclipsing 1,000 yards after pretty serious knee injuries, I thought was impressive for both. But yeah, Javonte hasn't really been talked about as much. Who you buying, Sean?
My first offseason buy is a person that you and I both admire a ton. Admire, respect, love, adore. And that would be Nico Collins, the wide receiver for the Houston Texans. Now I can already people saying, hey, Sean, Nico Collins just had like a 200-yard playoff game. It's kind of obvious, right? Well, here's where I'm at with Nico Collins. He's currently the wide receiver 12 on Keep Trade Cut after the likes of Jalen Waddle, after the likes of Brandon Ayuk, 2 guys I really like, and even like Chris Olave too. I think you can make a strong argument that Nico Collins should be above Brandon Ayuk, Jalen Waddle, and someone like Chris Olave. He's 25 years old. He's now coming off a career year where he posted, I think, the 3rd best yards per route run in the NFL. I think that right now that he's the wide receiver 12 on Keep Trade Cut because I think people are undervaluing him because 1 of Tank Dell and 2, because I think people believe that he's a product of CJ Stroud. So I did some number crunching, Aiden, and I went through this. When Tank Dell and Nico Collins were on the field together, when they were on the field together this season, Nico Collins still outpaced Tank Dell in target share, yards per route run, targets per route run, first read targets, end zone targets, fantasy points per game, and expected fantasy points per game. Now, it was relatively close in some of those categories, but Nico is clearly the 1A to Tank Dell's 1B. And 2, with the Tank Dell situation, I had a very strong opinion on our episode that's coming out in the top 50 rankings where I said I was out completely on Tank Dell. After getting dunked on by one of my favorite Twitter doctors, Jeff Mueller, I've softened my stance on Tank Dell just a little bit. In 2024 post-fibula fracture, but I'm still pretty skeptical that a very small wide receiver in year 2, 6 months removed from a broken leg, is really going to hurt Nico Collins' outlook for next year. So I think Tank Dell, maybe I was a little harsh. I think he still can have a nice year next year. But how is that really going to take Nico Collins' shine as a wide receiver 1? And then second, this narrative that CJ Stroud made Nico Collins isn't rooted in reality. Like Nico Collins last season on a bum ankle, playing with Davis Mills, Kyle Allen, Case Keenum, and Jeff Driscoll, had a higher yards per route run in 2022 than T. Higgins, Zay Flowers, and Calvin Ridley did in 2023. He was still efficient with probably one of the worst situations in all of football. And then if you want more of a like example of how sick Nico Collins is, did you see that play in the game against the Browns, Aiden, where CJ Stroud gets nailed and lets one fly to Nico downfield, and Nico
In week
midair.
18.
No, I think this is in the playoff game.
Yeah.
He flips his hips midair, mid adjustment, just a sick adjustment midair to go to the other shoulder and dive and make a catch. Like,
oh
CJ,
yeah.
CJ
Down
Stroud,
like down like the left side of the field.
Amazing ball. Like everything's amazing. CJ Stroud is 100% unlocked Nico Collins' potential, but Nico is a goddamn baller. His height, weight, athletic profile, it's kind of insane to think this guy went in the third round based off of like his pro day, how athletically gifted he is. I just think people are sleeping on Nico Collins because he's a year 3 breakout when this guy is legit as legit can be. I'm buying all the Nico Collins I can get.
Yeah, I'm in on there with Nico. This was probably one of our best like offseason takes in terms of like guys that are going to bust this year, and like Nico was honestly better than we all expected. But like it was like buy Nico. If you bought him last summer, you probably got him for significantly cheaper than what he is now. He's expensive now, like you said. So love Nico. I think the points around taking Dell are super valid. He's going to need some time to get ramped back up. And yeah, Nico's just a beast, dude. The size, the speed, strength, really awesome athletic profile. And you're tied to what? Top 5, top 10 QB, depending on where you want to put CJ Stroud right now. Like you could put him as high as 5 if you really wanted. He's definitely in the top 10.
4. You could put him top 4.
Yeah.
Like,
so it's like you want to be tied to elite QB. You've got the young wide receiver. It's great time to be a Nico Collins owner in Dynasty.
All right, who's the second guy you're buying right now in January, Aiden?
Let's do it. So this is actually the guy right behind Nico, the next wide receiver on Keep Trade Cut. It is none other than my DJ Moore. This is a guy too that I think is quite undervalued given what he just produced and his age. So again, he's wide receiver 13 right now between Nico Collins and Devonta Smith. If I'd rather have Nico or DJ, that's a tough one. I would definitely have either one of them before Devonta, though. Both wide receiver ones on their team. DJ Moore's still only 26 years old, turning 27 this upcoming spring, coming off a year where he posted career highs in every single category, 96 catches, just under 1,400 yards and 8 touchdowns through the air. Another one on the ground, which was good for wide receiver 6 on the year. I know there's a lot of skepticism in terms of who's playing quarterback, and I really just don't think it matters whether it's Justin Fields or Caleb Williams. He's going to be the wide receiver 1 in that offense, and he's going to absolutely ball again. I think bringing in another wide receiver, depending on who it is, hopefully it's one of the first rounders, whether it's a Neighbors, Rome from Washington. I think bringing in a competent wide receiver 2 is only going to help him. DJ Moore was the only legitimate wide receiver threat in that offense last year. This is no disrespect to Darnell Mooney. Absolutely love him. Cole Kmet was legit too, but they need a wide receiver 2 in that offense, which I think is just going to unlock him. I think an underrated part of DJ Moore too is in his 6-year career, he's missed 2 football games. This guy's durable. He's out there every single Sunday. Dude just balls. So I love him. I still think he's super young, coming off career highs. Again, probably getting him for, late first, maybe something in the second. Like it's probably going to cost you a first rounder for DJ Moore, unless you're just absolutely sweet talking and pulling off some witchcraft with your league mates. He's going to be expensive, but love DJ Moore. I think to all the people that said he can't take the Stephon Diggs or AJ Brown type leap with a real QB, absolutely shoved it in their faces. So DJ Moore's legit, man. This guy's a hell of a football player.
We were in on Nico and DJ heading into this season.
We were in on both of them.
I think if you're looking range of outcomes for DJ Moore, worst outcome is it's Justin Fields and they don't draft another wide receiver, right?
Oh, that'd be a fucking disaster.
But we just saw him be fantastic in that situation with a healthy
Yeah,
Justin
that's wide
Fields.
receiver 6.
DJ Moore was top 3 wide receiver with Justin Fields at quarterback. Tyson Bagent's low A dot kind of took the ceiling off of DJ Moore. When Justin Fields played, it was phenomenal. Best case scenario is we get a pass happier OC, either Justin Fields or Caleb Williams, and we also get a second wide receiver, which I think takes a little bit of attention off of DJ and overall just elevates this offense. I think the coolest part about DJ Moore is the guy had scored like 4 or 5 touchdowns in pretty much every year of his career. And this year he finally has a big touchdown season. Regression is king, baby. So
regression is king.
I love DJ. I would buy DJ. I would buy DJ over Jalen Waddle.
Oh, for sure.
I
agree. I want the alpha. I want the number one option. I guess for Waddle, like you could argue, Tyreek's only playing 2 more years, but no, I want DJ Moore and I want him now. It's like I feel pretty safe counting him in as a top 10 receiver again next year in fantasy, even without the clarity in terms of what the team's going to look like.
I mean, let's just do this right now. Would you rather have DJ Moore for the next 2 seasons, or would you rather have Chris Olave?
DJ Moore.
Would you rather have DJ Moore or Nico Collins?
Oh, that's hard. That's like choosing between like your 2 like children. I adore them both. Honestly, that's so hard, dude. I would probably flip a coin. I don't know. I want to lean DJ with my heart, but Nico is tied to Stroud and has Tank Dell for, target competition at this time. I don't know. I'd be very pleased with either one. Brandon
Ayuk or DJ Moore?
See, that sucks too. I'd probably DJ.
AJ Brown or DJ Moore next 2 years?
That's got to be AJ.
Okay.
Right?
They're the same age. They're pretty much the same age.
Yeah.
I think that DJ Moore is closer to AJ Brown than I think people think. I know that's not the most eloquent way of thinking.
I agree.
People think.
It's different builds, but the production and the role is extremely similar.
Or you could just have a dynasty team that has all 3: AJ Brown, DJ Moore, and Nico. Like
you have one, right?
Yeah, I do.
That's out of control.
I probably shouldn't have traded CeeDee Lamb. Okay, on to my next. I don't know what I was thinking. It was before CD became the best receiver in the NFL. Okay. Yeah, that was insane. I really traded him, and then he immediately just like turned into
wide receiver.
I'd never seen anything like that. All right, moving on to the second guy. So the second guy that I am buying in January, it is very different. It is not a 25-year-old ascending alpha wide receiver. It is a 29-year-old running back who only played 12 games in 2023. Coming in at RB32 on Keep Trade Cut, I am all in on James Conner in the year 2024. All right.
Okay.
James Conner he's undervalued because of 2 things. Age, injury history. Okay? That's very clear. 29, he misses a ton of games. However, I've got a compelling argument. He's #good at football. Like he's quite good when he
100%.
plays. I might even describe him as really fucking good. He played in 12 games, but he finished top 10 in yards after contact, missed tackles forced, first down, and yards. I thought this stat was super impressive. He finished 3rd in next-gen stats, rush yards over expected, despite facing 8+ defenders in the box on 25% of his rush attempts, which was 10th most in the NFL. This guy was about as good as CMC and Kyron Williams in the NFC in terms of a running back. Now, age and injury history, Aidan, they're pretty concerning. He's 29. He's probably going to be 30 next year. I have to double check. He misses like 3 to 4 games. It feels like every single year.
Yeah, like sprains an ankle, like what feels like every single year.
But I feel like that's baked in. It's already baked in with his RB32 designation. But there has been a recent history of older, talented, and oft-injured running backs having big success later in their careers. Looking at you, Raheem Mostert. And I feel like the big point of why I'm in on James Conner next year is I think this Cardinals offense could be like good to above average.
Yeah.
They've got a
I was
really
gonna say
solid,
that.
they have a really solid and ascending play caller in Drew Petzing, who really called up a fantastic run game this year. Kyler's going to be a full year removed from the ACL. Kyler averaged like 19 fantasy points per game, a year removed from the ACL, which is a really good sign. I think he's going to be much better next year. They've got an alpha tight end in Trey McBride. They're probably going to get Marvin Harrison Jr. or Malik Neighbors. Maybe they draft a tackle. I don't know, but they're probably going to invest in this offense.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
their offensive line was pretty good. They drafted Paris Johnson Jr., and he was excellent as a rookie. So I just think this is a great environment for Connor to thrive in. Like, for example, I absolutely love a guy like Saquon Barkley, but Saquon's 22 spots ahead of James Conner on keep trade cut. It kind of seems like malpractice. Like, I understand Saquon's a bigger name and he's 2 years younger, but go look at what James Conner's done the past couple seasons, especially down the stretch in the fantasy playoffs. This dude's been a league winner.
I was gonna say that too. He always shows up in the fantasy playoffs. It's awesome.
Yeah, he's killed me in back-to-back years.
You have firsthand experience.
I mean, James, what did I do to you, man? But I'm buying James Conner.
Yeah.
I feel like you could get like a second for him. Like, I mean, you could sell him for like a second, and I feel like the person who has him is probably okay with offloading a second for him because it's like, well, he's probably going to go over the hill after 1 year anyway. I just think he's like one of those guys that's a great, like a low risk addition to your dynasty team.
Yeah, I like him. I kind of echo like your entire like thought on the Cardinal offense. I think a lot of people are kind of like discrediting what a healthy Kyler plus some more weapons is going to mean for that entire teams. I really like James Conner.
I was impressed with the play calling. I was impressed with the coaching for the Cardinals, man.
They weren't as bad as like their record looked. They were like they were pretty scrappy to your point.
All right. Who is the last guy you're buying in January?
Last buy is actually your guy. I think kind of the window is still open where he's relatively cheap, and it is Brock Purdy. Especially in a super flex league, I think Brock Purdy is an awesome option. He's currently QB 11 between Kyler Murray and Trevor Lawrence. So again, this is going to cost you a first rounder. It won't be cheap, but the guy's 24, just turned 24 this past month in December, coming off an awesome year. 4,300 yards, over 30 touchdowns, was QB 6 on the year, on his rookie deal for another 2 years. So they're going to be able to build this team around him again for another 2 years before, they have to invest in him and pay him. It's not the sexiest option, rarely runs. This isn't, some dual threat quarterback that's going to be lighting it up on the ground for you. But the scheme is just so efficient. Debo, Ayuk, they're not going anywhere. Kittle's playing as well as he's played his entire career. Got CMC, just a really good offense. I think Kyle puts him in a good spot where it's just layups left and right. Guys are wide open across the field. So again, it's not a sexy option, but I think Brock Purdy is a super stable quarterback for your dynasty roster right now, whether he's your QB1 or QB2. If Brock's your QB2, you've got an awesome QB room. But I'd be fine with him as my QB1. I don't think he has like QB1 upside on like a week-to-week basis in terms of like being the top scoring quarterback, but it feels like he's consistently in the top 5 or top 10, which is awesome for fantasy. It's like very rarely is he dropping duds.
I love this. I didn't, and me and team, I did not put him up to this. This was of his own. This was his own. He decided to do this. So my thoughts on Brock.
I still have his name muted on Twitter. But I do respect his 2023 season.
Okay, so my thoughts on Brock in particular. So age 24, 2 years left on his rookie deal. They're going to be able to squeeze in the Ayuk deal, right? So they have 40 million in cap space. They're going to roll that over this year. They'll do some cap chicanery. We're probably going to keep this 49ers offense for at least a year or two. So that's okay. So it's like, okay, I don't know. I believe in Brock, the talent. What about the supporting cast? That seems relatively secure for the next couple of years. Maybe I'm a little optimistic, but at least next year. Two, he got way better this year than he was last year. Like, obviously, the stats are spectacular, but the decision making, his ability to create out of structure, his accuracy, his aggressiveness, he really was a better quarterback. And what's crazy is he got a lot better as the year went along. From weeks 9 on, Brock Purdy was PFF's number 2 rated quarterback. And what's interesting is if you go looked at PFF earlier in the year when he had all the stats, he was like QB 10, 11. They were relatively like, oh, this guy's fine. But he became a really highly graded quarterback as the year went along. So I think that's really something to keep an eye on. A lot of people are going to look at his 4-interception game against the Ravens, which stunk. It was really unpleasant. It ruined my Christmas. Kyle Hamilton, I hate you. But if you throw that game out, the guy basically like had a perfect year. He had the concussion against Minnesota. He had kind of a rough game against the Bengals. But, those like start 16, 17. It's going to be hard when you're younger. I think he basically passed every test, and the supporting cast is money. So I'm in. I'd buy Brock. I think that's a great guy to buy right now.
Yeah, I completely agree.
The last guy.
Take us home.
And this is very on brand for me. This is a super on brand name.
I forget who this is.
He's 25 years old. He's currently the tight end 9 on Keep Trade Cut. And his name is Jake Ferguson. I want you to go buy Fergie style. I want you to go get Jake Ferguson. And this was not inspired by the fact that he had a monster game in garbage time. What a performance. Garbage time Dak from 2020 was back in full force, baby. It was
beautiful.
It was a thing of beauty if you had him at playoff best ball. It just didn't matter, but it totally did. I think things are very clear after seeing a year 2 breakout from Jake Ferguson. One, you will never see him be the alpha in this offense that is unquestionably CeeDee Lamb, but playing amongst the likes of Michael Gallup, Brandon Cooks, and Jalen Tolbert, he's clearly the number 2 in a very high-powered offense. So I don't know what they do with Mike McCarthy. I don't know what the Cowboys' plan is going to be, but regardless, Jake Ferguson, as it currently stands, is the number 2 in this offense. He's 25 years old. And when you look at his 2023 in context against the other tight ends who ran at least 75 routes, here is where he finished. 8th in yards, 7th in targets, 9th in receptions, tied for 3rd in TDs, 3rd in end zone targets, 6th in yards after the catch, 3rd in yards after contact per reception, 6th in missed tackles forced. And there's a ton of meat on the bone, too, for Ferguson, Aidan, in 2024, because he finished 14th in targets per route run, and he finished 14th in first read target percentage. If those were to creep up with his ability to force missed tackles and create after the catch, I think he could have a very special season in year 3. Again, CD is the true alpha, but I really like Ferguson as the number 2 in this offense, especially if he's tied to Dak Prescott. I think it's time to buy Jake Ferguson. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm a big Ferg guy. I was going to bring up the red zone targets too. I had him at first most among tight ends.
Shit, man.
I might be off there, but
it's like first.
The red zone rule. Yeah, the red zone rule is incredible. I've got him at 11 more than the next most in TJ Hawkinson. Like on the roll's awesome. Dak clearly trusts him. Dude's still super young. What is he? The 24, 25?
He's 25.
Yeah. So still very old, or very young, pardon me. The roll's awesome. Dak and that offense really, really figured things out in the air in the second half of the year. Obviously, they just got embarrassed, but we're going to expect another top 5 offense from them next year, barring any massive changes in that scheme. So, I think that's a great one. Way to give the tight end some love to round out this episode.
But that is it. I am buying Nico Collins, Jake Ferguson, and who's my third one? And James Conner. I am buying Nico Collins. I am buying Nico Collins, James Conner, and Jake Ferguson. Aidan, who are you buying? Who are you buying right now in January, bud?
I'm buying Javonte Williams, DJ Moore himself, and the pervert, Brock Purdy.
Go get those trades in. This is the best time to make a trade. Best time. Yeah, go do it.
With the roster uncertainty, it's risky. It's very high risk, high reward. Because you could totally get ahead of some big roster changes, which propels your guy into a bigger role, or it could also go the other way. But yeah, go take some swings. Go bother your league mates. Drop some trades in their inbox. See who takes the bait.
If you like this content, stay tuned for part 2 of this series for early offseason sells. It's not going to be all positive there, guys, that we're trying to get off our rosters, man. So, Aidan, thank you for joining. Thank you for getting some takes off. We appreciate you. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Until next time.